What's up, sports fans? Welcome to Game Day Scoreboard. I'm your host, Joe Musso. Full hour on the way, and we lead things off with your top stories out of the NFL. Week 2 officially a matter of record. It all started with that scary scene on Thursday night. Dolphins quarterback Tua Tagovailoa suffering another concussion on a national stage. On Tuesday, it was announced that Tagovailoa will, in fact, land on the IR, meaning he will miss at minimum the next 4 games. Still, no official timetable for Tua's return following his 4th concussion in the last 3 years. CBS Sports NFL analyst and host of the With the First Pick podcast, Ryan Wilson, joining us with his thoughts here and beyond. Ryan, this is a tricky situation unfolding for both Tua and the Dolphins. Contractual implications, yes. Public calls for retirement as well. IR assignment at least tells us the player is being put first right now. How do you process this latest bit of news?
I think it's great news in the sense that we're not rushing Tua back into the field. And we got the sense early on from Coach Mike McDaniel that that wasn't going to be the case anyway. This was always going to be about Tua. There's been no conversation about the huge contract he just signed, and nor should there be. I think most importantly, we have to figure out where Tua's mind is, and there have been reports that he's not interested in retiring, and that's certainly his prerogative. But there's also no rush to get him back out there because, as you noted, Joe, he's had 4 concussions. He had 2 in 22 that seemed as severe as they could possibly be to watch unfold live on television. He had the hip injury before that, which feels like an afterthought because below the neck injuries you can overcome. The above the neck ones are the ones you're concerned about. And look, if we're being honest, Joe, I don't want to say the Dolphins are punting on the season, but one of their best players, the most important player on any team, is going to be unable to play for at least 8 weeks, it sounds like, or so. So that means you're rolling with backup Skylar Thompson. You brought in Tyler Huntley, and it's going to be hard to compete not only in that division but in that conference without Tua Tagovailoa. But look, that's okay. There will be more football played next season, 2 months from now, whenever. The issue is Tua's health, and I appreciate the fact that Mike McDaniel and the Dolphins appear to be taking that seriously, and there's no rush to get Tua back on the football field.
Yeah, Mike McDaniel, not the only one dealing with attrition. These fine offensive minds, Andy Reid, Kyle Shanahan, McDaniel, McVay, all dealing with massive names. Not going to be out there for them, but obviously the quarterback position and the nature of this injury is the most severe case that we're talking about right now. But 4 concussions, ribs, a tightrope anchor in that right ankle, a hip surgery. It's really a compounding aspect to these traumas here for Tagovailoa. Meantime, in Pittsburgh, the Fighting Mike Tomlins have done just that. No style points to their 2-0 start, but we only measure in wins and losses. The early success leaving Justin Fields in line to again start in Week 3. As for Russ, Tomlin said Wilson won't be a full participant when the team returns to practice on Wednesday.
As I sit here today, Russ is not scheduled to be a full participant in practice, and so we're ready in a plan that features Justin and his readiness. We'll follow Russ throughout the week. And if his participation gets to a level in participation and quality where we should consider him, we'll delve into that at that time. And obviously, when that happens is a component of the consideration. But as I sit here today, he is not scheduled to be a full participant tomorrow in practice. And so we're readying ourselves around Justin, and we'll stay in that mindset until something else happens. Hypotheticals is a waste of our time.
A prepared statement there. Ryan, death taxes and your Steelers winning ugly. More wins than touchdowns is always an interesting one, but 70% completion percentage and no turnover seems like progress, yes, for Fields. With the momentum building, is there a chance that Russ never gets his opportunity to show what he can do in this Pittsburgh scheme?
I'm glad you caught that, Joe. The only thing missing was I announced my candidacy for county commissioner. Let's go. So, yeah, he read the statement. Not going to entertain hypotheticals. Looks down, reads more words. Okay, here's the deal. And as a lifelong Bears fan, it's probably interesting to see Justin Fields having this sort of success. But the Justin Fields we're seeing is similar to the one that we've seen in the past. Mm-hmm. The only difference is Arthur Smith's offense has allowed him to run the football, not make a lot of high percentage dangerous plays. And the throws he's made have been pretty impressive, although they always seem to follow a flag, a holding, or something that negates the play. But there have been encouraging signs. I think part of the issue is everything hasn't been put on Justin Fields as the number 1 draft pick coming in to save a franchise. He's in Pittsburgh, where there's plenty of that responsibility to go around. The defense is lights out. You start in the front with T.J. Watt, you work your way to Patrick Queen, and you end up with Minkah Fitzpatrick. And they're playing ugly, ball control, old-school Steelers offense, and you can win that way in the near term. Now, once you get to January, and that's a long ways off, the conversation changes. But for now, there's no reason to change. It's going to be a great matchup this week, Joe, because it's going to be Jim Harbaugh's Chargers coming in to play the Steelers, and I think those two teams are going to look a lot alike in the way they approach playing football in 2024.
Yeah, it's like when they fire atoms at each other. We're looking for fusion. We might get some of that. It's going to be high-contact football this week. Going to be a blast to watch on CBS. That'll be Tony Romo, Jim Nantz, and Tracy Wolfson on the call. Certain teams every year, Ryan, simply get bit by the bug too hard. Rams are dealing with injuries to both of their star wideouts now. Cooper Kupp joining Puka Nacua on the IR. Ryan, are you busting out the red Sharpie right now, or is the offensive mind of Sean McVay and the arm of Matt Stafford enough to carry this water across that stretch that includes matchups with the Niners, Bears, Packers, and Raiders?
It's funny you asked that question, Joe, because I was reminded of a conversation I had with Mike Tomlin when he first got the Steelers job in 2007. The year before, he was the DC for the Vikings. And I remember specifically they played a game on national television against Tom Brady's Patriots. And I asked him, I said, what happened? And he said, sometimes you just don't have the players. When you get raced by someone like Tom Brady, you just don't have the players, and that happens. And I think this is a situation, to your point, where they just don't have the players. Sean McVay is one of the greatest, brightest NFL minds offensively that we've seen in the last 20, 30 years. But if you're running out, you can't run out Puka Nacua. You can't run out Cooper Kupp. Your offensive line has been decimated by injuries. You've lost Aaron Donald to retirement. You've lost some other pieces on defense due to injury. And you're 0-2 in a division where Geno Smith and the Seahawks are 2-0. Boy, you got a lot of questions to answer, and you have about 2 hours to answer them. I don't think it's sustainable in the short term. No disrespect to Sean McVay, but it's hard to win in this league when you have everyone healthy, never mind when it feels like 40% of your roster is suffering some sort of nagging injury. So I don't have high expectations for the Rams, not because they don't have the firepower on the coaching staff and in the front office. They just don't have the dudes healthy to go out there and play football in what could end up being one of the toughest divisions in the NFL.
Offensive injury, the through line to our next conversation here. We don't usually cover P-Squad additions, but Kareem Hunt rekindling with KC 6 years after being waived due to that hotel altercation with a female. Ryan, do you think we see Kareem Hunt carry the football for KC, or is this just a depth move, break glass in case of emergency type transaction with Isaiah Pacheco targeting that November return?
Right, you talk about November, so that's 4 to 6 weeks. So that's a time frame there. And currently, the only running backs on the active roster are Carson Steele, the phenom rookie who actually fumbled last week in that game, and then, of course, Samaje Perine. Can you win with those two in Kansas City? Yeah, man, you certainly can. You can run into rounds with Xavier Worthy. You can run into rounds with Rashee Rice. You can find ways to get Juju and Travis involved in the run game if you want to. There will be no shortage of opportunities for Andy Reid to draw things up on the old whiteboard there. But I think there is a chance for Kareem Hunt. You don't sign him with the understanding that he's not going to play when the depth is where it's at. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is still out. He was dealing with the PTSD issue, so there's no clear idea when he may return either. So this is certainly something to consider, but I think maybe the break in case of emergency conversation you're talking about there, it's a little different than the Rams, right? You can win with Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce and all the other weapons and how well that defense is playing without getting RB3 on the active roster. That I understand. One other thing to keep an eye on, though, Joe, is left tackle Kingsley Sumatea, the rookie second-round pick. He got benched in that game in the second half because he could not stop Trey Hendrickson. That's something else to keep an eye on. How do they manage that situation? Because that's much more dire, in my mind, in the near term in terms of protecting Patrick Mahomes. If the left tackle can't stand up to the edge rush pressure, that's going to be a much bigger issue than who the running back is getting the handoffs.
Ryan, you also have to consider who needs running backs when you're going to throw it on 3rd and 3. Love being with you as always, pal. Our award-winning teams got you covered all season long. It's the NFL Today on CBS, leading you into each and every Sunday. We put the exclamation point on it right here on HQ this week. Number of can't-miss matchups, including that one we talked about. Black and blue in the land of black and yellow. Jim Nantz, Tony Romo on the call in Pittsburgh.